Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry, College Football Stop. Bring you another show. Obviously, today is, let's see, September 25th. So let's get into it. Obviously, big weekend of college football. Super exciting weekend. We capped it off or finished it off with the Ohio State versus Notre Dame game. Obviously, it was a great game. Came down to the wire. Defensive game. You don't see those in college football too often anymore. But you love to see it. Let me fix this here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Again, like I said, I just wanted to recap the game and then get into some offensive stuff that I noticed. And I'm going to give the position grades for the offense too. And we'll get into the defense tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Okay, so first thing, again, just the game recap. I love what I've seen from Ohio State's defense the whole game. I feel like they were doing a good job stopping the run. They were making life hard for Sam Hartman. Not really getting sacks, but I mean, again, the defense doesn't play as good as they are without the defensive line playing good. So I do think that the defensive line is solid. I think they just need to keep getting better and continue to get pressure in key situations, which is really what happened yesterday. The defense started to struggle a little bit. I'll get into that in a minute, but actually, let's just focus on the offense for now. So I was really frustrated with the offensive performance for most of this game. I was one of the people who, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna come on here and lie. I was one of the people who was saying like, man, what Kyle McCord is doing is just not it. And I still think that. I still think he needs to get better, but he pulled it together at the end. And I mean, I'm not gonna take anything away from a kid who had the last drive that he had. Obviously, there was some mistakes on that drive, but some of the throws he made on that drive, I don't know too many quarterbacks that would have been able to make those throws. Um, from the offense, I felt like the run game was an advantage for Ohio State. They were getting stopped sometimes with like 3-4 yards or 2 yard gains, but for the most part, I felt like the run game was successful, and I honestly think that they could have leaned on it even a little bit more than they did, because Ryan Day does like to get pass happy. Whenever a run play doesn't work, he likes to revert right to a pass play. And I mean, he did that a lot in this game. And looking at the way the offensive line was playing, I actually think they were playing phenomenal in the run game. They just they had a couple. They weren't like finishing their blocks, so there would be a hole there, and then the guy would get off a block at the last second and get the running back for like a 3 yard gain. Obviously, that's something to work on, and that's something that I think that Justin Fry will definitely get fixed. Let me see here. As far as the throwing game goes, I think that Marv, I mean, they were kind of doubling him the whole game. He did have some one-on-one opportunities, and Ohio State took some of them. The one was definitely a catch that they called it not a catch, but the announcers and I'm assuming the guys looking at the video were saying things like his hand was out first, but nobody looked at his foot, and his foot was down. Unless he bobbled it, I don't know. I didn't see if he bobbled it, but if he did, then okay. But if he didn't bobble that was definitely a catch. But I said on my show last week that where Ohio State was going to win this game, the person who I needed to see go out and be the best player on the field was Emeka Egbuka and Trevion Henderson, and they did that. In that game, this one game sample size, Emeka Egbuka was the best wide receiver on the field between either team, and Trevion Henderson was the best running back between either team. So I love that kind of came to fruition after saying it. But I mean, that's kind of just how it had to be. Like, good teams are going to do everything they can to take Marv away, and if they're not, they're going to see that that's a mistake because Marv is going to kill them. So Emeka Egbuka, he has an opportunity this year to probably lead this team in receiving. Be a first round pick and kind of be the guy who leads this team to all their goals that they want to reach. So, I look to see that from him every single week. But teams are not going to do it this way every week where they try to completely take Marv away. So really, Kyle McCord. A lot of people have been saying that he has a Lamborghini. I mean, that's pretty much how it is. Like, you have everything you could ask for. And as much as people talked about the offensive line, they played phenomenal in this game against a really good defense. What's up? What's up, Chris M? Go Bucks, baby! That was a huge win, man. I screamed so loud after that win that my wife got mad at me. It is what it is, though. It was worth it. All right. So what I want to do now, that's kind of the recap. I mean, again, I think the pass game was pretty good, not great, but it was pretty good. The run game I felt like was solid, and they really should have used it more, especially with Travion Henderson, because honestly, I think that if he got more carries, he would have broke another one like he did the first one. There was 5 or 6 plays in that game where if one block doesn't happen or one block does happen that was supposed to happen, Travion Henderson is gone. And I mean, even these are blocks where the guys were on the block, they just were getting off at the last second and getting a hand on him. But again, if they would have stuck to the run game, I think that Ohio State probably ends up scoring like 24 points in this game. And the time of possession doesn't look the way it did, because that was one of the things that was really kind of concerning about the game, especially with teams like Michigan and Wisconsin on your schedule, because Notre Dame had 35, 34, basically 35 minutes of time of possession. Ohio State had 25. So, again, Ryan Day is pass happy, man. That's just what he does. So, it's not really a surprise. It's just kind of how that's his thing. All right, so what I want to do now, I'm going to get into some offensive grades, and then we'll get into the offensive players of the game. So, offensive grades, I'm going to start with the quarterback, Kyle McCord. I was really frustrated with him in this game, like I said early on in the show, but he pulled it together at the end. So obviously that last drive has to like bump his grade up one whole grade. I think I probably would have graded him out like a C, um, but I'm gonna probably go with like a B. I guess a B minus maybe. I don't know. It's tough because I don't want to be too hard on the kid. I feel like he does have the talent, and I feel like as he continues to progress and get better in this offense, he's going to be a really good quarterback. Like I think he's going to be like a top 5 quarterback in the country by the end of the year as long as he keeps developing. But right now, he's just simply not. And I mean, we're winning despite that. We won a big game despite that. So, and on the last drive, I mean, the dude kind of like dropped his nuts, man. He went up to bat and threw some balls on the money. There was the one ball that should have been an interception that would have ended the game, but you know, bouncing back from that and to still have the confidence to make that throw to a Emeka Egbuka on 3rd and 19, I'm gonna give him a B minus and roll with that. The running backs, I'm going to give the running backs an A in this game. Now I know that it's tough to give the running backs an A when they're the running game was kind of getting stuffed a little bit, and you have plays where it's like 4th down and 1, 3rd down and 1, and we're not able to complete those. But listen, the one that mattered the most, they did. Chip Trainum touchdown. Travion Henderson, I felt like played phenomenal in this game. He wasn't missing cuts. His vision was great. That's one of the things that people love to talk about with him is his vision is not good, and I just don't think that that's true this year. I think that the offensive line gets blown up occasionally, and he won't be able to make a cut or something like that. But for the most part, Trey's in the right spot and doing the right thing. I'm giving the running backs an A, and I'm sticking to it. The next one's the offensive line. Again, I felt like they played really good. I already mentioned that before. I felt like they were doing really good in the run game besides just not finishing their blocks. And then the pass protection has been phenomenal all year. So again, I don't have any complaints about the offensive line. There was a couple penalties in there. The one penalty that was on Josh Fryer, that was bogus, man. There should not have been a penalty called on that. That's what offensive linemen do. You get a guy on the ground, you fall down on him because if not, that guy can just crawl 2 feet to the side and grab your quarterback's ankle. So I mean, what else was he supposed to do? I don't know. I felt like they were just calling something to call it at that moment. It was a big moment in the game too because Ohio State was winning. They were driving the field and they were about to take, I think, like a 17-0 lead before that penalty stalled the drive. So, hey, if you guys are in here, if you're in the chat or watching, obviously hit the like button and hit me up in the chat. Let me know. Ask any questions. Let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts on the game. I'm interested to hear what you guys got to say. All right, so moving on from that, moving on to the tight end position. Um, I felt like the tight ends played really well. I don't remember G. Scott too much, but I think that's a good thing because when he was out there, I feel like if he had blocks to make, he was making them. He didn't really get any catches. But listen, man, I think that it's time. So many people, and I've kind of died on this hill before, and then I seen Cade Stover miss some blocks, and I kind of backed off of this hill. But I'm standing on this hill, and I'm going to stand on it for good now. Cade Stover's the best tight end on this team. He's not the greatest blocker in space, which when you have a big ass dude like him, you don't expect him to block a defensive back in space. They're going to get around him. They're going to take angles on him that he can't, he's just not going to be quick enough to do it. But Cade Stover's a really good inline blocker that adds like an extra offensive lineman, obviously, but smaller. And Cade Stover, I don't care. Just because G. Scott was a receiver before, Cade Stover is the best receiving tight end on this team. And I'm not letting anybody tell me different because when Cade Stover runs a route, he gets separation. He catches the ball. Now he has dropped a ball in the past, especially like that Michigan game, but they were throwing him like jump balls and things like that. Okay, that's not his specialty. He's not the tight end that has the long arms that's going to be able to jump over a defensive back and get the ball over him. That's also fine. That if that is not what your tight end is, then don't use him as that. Use him how they're using him now. Let him route somebody up, get separation, and then go break tackles and stiff arm somebody's face into the ground, which is what he did against Notre Dame. I'm done with Cade Stover hate. Listen, if he messes up in the Michigan game, okay, then we can talk about it because he did last year. But he's been solid throughout, and I just think that he's received a lot of hate. People went from calling him Farmer Gronk to saying that he shouldn't even be playing on this team, and I don't know. I'm not with it. I think Cade Stover is a solid player, and he continues to show up week after week and be consistent and do what he's supposed to do. All right, I didn't even give the grade on the tight ends. I'm gonna give the tight ends an A. I think they played really well, and we'll leave it at that. Then the last position grade is gonna be the receivers for the offense. So I feel like the receivers played really well. When big games come, the Ohio State receivers go from like not great blockers to decent blockers at least. They usually do their thing with blocking when you're playing against a team that's like talent equated. Um, like Marv got hurt throwing a block, which ended up springing Trevion Henderson for the long touchdown. Emeka is usually a solid blocker, and then Julian Fleming. I mean, he might be the best blocking wide receiver in the country, and that's why he plays. People talk a lot of shit about Julian because he's not the best route runner. He's not the most he's not the most dynamic guy there is, but anytime that there's a block that needs to be thrown, Julian's doing it. I've seen plays in this game where he was blocking a defensive end, and he did a good job. He got the guy out of the play. So um, I'm going to give the wide receivers a high grade just from that. I feel like they did a really good job blocking. Emeka was routing people up. There was, they were not really winning those 50-50 balls this week like they do in most games, which is going to happen when you play against better teams. But at the same time, this is the best receiver unit in the country. You need to be able to win those more often. They shouldn't be 50-50 balls. At the very least, they should be like 60-40 with this unit. And they didn't really win those, so I'm going to grade them out as a B. It's just a high standard for these guys. They play well, but I need to see something special from this group if I'm going to grade them out as an A because they are that special of players, and that's across the board. I don't really like that we didn't really see Carnell Tate at all this week. I don't know. It seemed like they really tightened up the rotation for this game, which we kind of in the past have called for that in big games because we had some people playing in big games last year that shouldn't have been on the field. But I think that Carnell Tate belongs, and I think that he would have added a dynamic to this passing offense that they didn't have with Marv being doubled, sometimes Emeka being doubled. If you had Carnell Tate out there on some pass plays, I think that he would have got off a little bit and could have helped Ohio State open up this offense. All right, so that's it for the offensive grades. Overall, I'm going to give the offense not a good grade. So, I actually graded all the units themselves pretty high, but this offense really did frustrate me in this game, and it kind of backs up the point that I've been making talking about this team is that this offense with Kyle McCord at quarterback could lose Ohio State a game. They could lay an egg where they don't score 20 points. That's what I said, which they did this week. Good thing the defense is really good. But they could lay an egg where they don't score 20 points, and ultimately that could lose them a game against a team that is able to score on our defense. So I'm gonna grade the offense out at like a C. And again, that's only because potential. When you break it down to each player, it's really because the potential that this team has to score, and they didn't really do that. Hold on one second. Excuse me. But when you break it down to each player, I feel like they pretty much they did pretty good. But when you're grading the offense overall, you have to also factor in play calling. You have to also factor in momentum, timely third down conversions. That's a big one. Looking at the stats, Ohio State this week was 10 of 17 on third downs, which is actually not bad. But then you factor in that they were 1 of 3 on fourth downs. That's two possessions right there. I think they only had like 7. So if you're 1 of 3 on fourth downs, there's 2 of your 7 possessions that are not resulting in points. And, that alone has to factor into the offensive grade. So I'm going to grade the offense out overall as a C. All right. And then moving on here, the next thing I wanted to do is my offensive players of the game. Obviously, here I messed up my thing here. I'm trying to get you back. All right, there we go. All right. So again, like I said before, if you're in here, hop in the chat. Let me know what's up. I'm about to get into offensive players of the game. We just did the offensive grades. If you want to comment on any of those, what's your grades for the offense? Who you think should be the offensive player of the game? Let me know what's up, and then obviously hit the like button on the video if you're enjoying it. Okay, so I didn't even write anything down for this, so I'm gonna do this straight off the top of the head. Offensive players of the game, number 1 for me, TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson was phenomenal in this game. I don't care what anybody says about Trey's vision, about Trey's ability to break tackles. I know that Trey was getting the yards that were there, the play was blocked for, and getting a little bit more. And then when it came down to it and Ohio State needed a play, they hadn't scored a touchdown yet in the game. TreVeyon Henderson showed great vision to cut the play outside. He showed the ability to break tackles because he broke 2 tackles on one play, and then also the burst and the speed, which is the reason why he's running back 1 on this team. And he took that ball to the house. And I mean, you're not getting that with any other running back on this team right now. I know Chip Trayanum's a good back, and I'm in no way, shape, or form is this disrespecting him, because I love Chip and I love what he brings to the table, and he's the one who scored the game-winning touchdown. But TreVeyon Henderson's my player of the game here. He went for 14 carries, 104 yards, 1 touchdown, 7.4 yards per carry. 7.4 yards per carry in a matchup game like this is just through the roof. So, I mean, you can't ask for more from the kid, and I think that he's one of the best running backs in the Big Ten, probably top maybe 6, 7 in the country. So I love what I'm seeing from him. And then my second offensive player of the game, I was reluctant to do this, but I'm going to give it to Kyle McCord. The kid, he showed square jaw, like just a badass mentality. And really what I like about him the most is that videos keep coming out of him hyping the team up and like talking shit to the fans. And I love that from him. He's got what they call that shit to him. And again, he's made some mistakes, and I think that he needs to get better at seeing the field. I think that he makes the wrong reads a lot of the times where guys are open, he decides not to throw it. And then there was one thing that Ryan Day said in one of his press conferences that really stuck with me. And basically what he said was, as a quarterback, if your first read is open and you don't take it, your second and third reads are not going to be open. Because the reason why your first read is open is because you have the help is elsewhere. The help is on your second and your third reads. So if your first read is open, you don't take it, your second and third ones are not. And I think that Kyle has that issue. I think that he doesn't necessarily take his first read sometimes when it is open. But listen, I'm talking bad about the kid while I'm giving him player of the game. What he did on that last drive, he made 3 or 4 throws on that last drive that I don't know if CJ Stroud would have made in those situations. And again, I know that CJ Stroud is a dominant player. He's a way more accurate passer, great at making decisions. But for him to have the guts to throw that ball to Emeka Egbuka on 3rd and 19 on the 1-yard line, Emeka had 2 defenders on him, and Kyle threw the ball in the only spot that he could throw it in. And honestly, that play right there alone was probably like the back-breaking play that won the game. They had 2 more plays after that to win it, and they did. But listen, I got to put respect on Kyle McCord's name just simply because I've been critical of him, and when I'm critical of someone and they prove me wrong, I'm man enough to come on here and be like, hey, I was wrong, and you did what you were supposed to do. And he did. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the kid. He showed up on that last drive and put that damn ball in the end zone. I didn't have any faith that he could do it. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people didn't. Maybe some people did, but again, Kyle showed up when he needed to, and I think that that's just going to help build his confidence. And the throws he was making on that last drive are kind of the throws he should have been making all game. Like those passes were there. It's not like just because it's not like they drew up a special game plan for the last drive that was getting people open. The people were open. He just wasn't throwing it because I think he just wasn't confident in those throws. But when he had to, he didn't have a choice so to let it rip. All right, so that's my offensive players of the game. Let me see here. What we got? Like always, guys. I know I keep saying it, but hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Get in the chat. We've only had one person in the chat so far. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this game, the Ohio State offense, and how they responded. Another thing that we need to talk about too. Listen, Ryan Day after the game was fucking awesome. I don't care what anybody says. People are doing all kinds of hating. Michigan fans, Notre Dame fans all over the internet saying this is soft. We're in Ryan Day's head. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care about none of that shit. As an Ohio State fan, what we've wanted from Ryan Day and from this team is we wanted them to show the passion and that they care and that like they're going to get hyped up and they're going to be juiced up when it comes time to play Michigan or Penn State. And Ryan Day going out after the game and being like, basically what he said was, man, fuck Luke or fuck Lou Holtz, fuck all the haters. He's like, I don't care what nobody has to say. This is a tough ass team. We won a tough ass game, and we're gonna continue being a tough ass team. And I mean, it's just something that we haven't seen from Ryan Day ever. And I've seen multiple people now say that that's just who Ryan Day is. We just don't get to see that in press conferences. And listen, I want that dude to be who he is. Like, the reason why people have a problem with it is because that's not who he's been this whole time. He's been the class act. Excuse me. That's not who he's been this whole time. He's been the class act guy who wants to go in front of the camera and be like, "Oh, uh, we need to get better. We need to watch the film. We need to blah 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 blah." If Ryan Day was this guy all the time, no one would have a problem with it. And I just think that it's stupid because I made a post on Twitter and I said Ryan Day did his best Deion Sanders, it's personal impersonation, which I love that, man. If you're not someone who's been hype over what Deion Sanders is doing, then I don't know what you're missing out. I mean, he's bringing a whole different energy to that football team. And I think that Ryan Day brought the energy to this football team by going on there and saying that. And it was funny, there's the clip came out of Jerry Emig, the like media guy at Ohio State, telling Ryan Day to take a deep breath before the thing, before he went on and did his interview. And then Ryan Day telling him, like, watch this. So obviously he planned on doing that after the game. But again, I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care what Michigan fans, Notre Dame fans, Georgia fans. I don't care what anybody has to say. If your coach won a big game and he walked off the field, grabbed the mic and said, "Fuck all the haters. This is a tough ass team. We're gonna whoop everybody's ass." You would be hype about that. And if you are not hype about that, that's your fault. You're the one who's missing out. So anyway, that's really all I have for today. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the show up now. As like I said a couple times throughout the show, like the video, come back for more content, hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna be live every single day, 10 a.m. And we're gonna be talking about Ohio State. We got a bye week coming up or off week, whatever you want to call it. So be a lot of content coming out for the next few weeks. Probably focus on this Notre Dame game for the rest of this week, and then we'll flip over to I think they got Maryland next. We'll flip over to Maryland going into next week. So peace out, guys. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.